I ask it like, hey, I need a quote that's kind of like this quote, or, give me some things, and it just makes it up. They call it hallucinating. I think we call it lying, in the Bible. The way to be good at AI in the future, to be AI prepared for your jobs, when the student becomes 20, 22, 24, 26 years old, is not to embrace AI today, but it is to embrace the things that we've been embracing in classical conversations for almost 30 years now.
Your organization is known worldwide, and we certainly appreciate every facet that you do.
I do believe in what you're doing because I've seen it in my family.
I'm so excited about all the things that, Robert, you guys do with Classical Conversations. It's been a huge blessing for our family.
Grateful for the work at Classical Conversations. You're a leader, and you have been in this movement for a long time. We love Classical Conversations.
I do feel like I have a debt of gratitude to you, your family, all of CC, for just the fruit that has come from CC.
I appreciate all that you guys do, both through this wonderful podcast and also through Classical Conversations, which I am convinced is the best education resource out there. Thank you very much for all that you do for the cause of Christ and for our families and for our children. Really, really appreciate it.
Welcome back to another informative episode of Refining Rhetoric. And this week we are doing a series on AI. Of course, we've had discussions throughout the year on it with different guests on the show, and we thought we'd just really dive in just for a week to talk about it, because I know it's on the forefront of everyone's minds. What is it? Is it the devil incarnate? Is it the start of the end of the world, or is it just another tool that can be used properly or abused? And what is it all about? So we're going to explore those questions today and throughout this week and together. And of course, it's going to be a continuing conversation. But first, I just wanted to start off with how I've been using it, because you like to, in business or in life, fail quickly. Fail quickly is an idea that you probably have heard of, but it's this idea of try a lot of things fast, see what works, see what doesn't work, so that you can move forward with the things that do work. So I think with my personal use of AI as an adult, it's been very much a fail forward type of use. I haven't been using it for as long as other people, maybe a little bit over a year now. I didn't get on 2 or 3 years ago when it was first kind of coming up and ChatGPT was a thing. But for me, what I've been using it as is a thought partner. So one of the things is it can help you look for blind spots or things that you didn't think about. So if I have an idea, I'll try to write out, what the idea is, what are some of my thoughts on those ideas, and ask it, what am I missing, or what information is backing this up? What type of information would discredit this idea? So really using it as a thought partner is one of the most valuable added ways that we can use AI as adults. And I say as adults for a reason. We'll, of course, be talking about students later on. But just like anything, right, your brain develops at a certain pace, certain areas at certain times. That's why the classical model works so well. But the brain's not fully developed oftentimes into the 20s. There's a reason people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs would basically refuse to allow their children to have any technology, because they understood how it was rewiring the brain and how it could affect their children's success later in life if they were given these technologies too early. And so, that's definitely a principle and something that we may be thinking about as those leaders in our household. And so using it as a thought leader has been great. Another way is just using it as an editor, so that if I'm writing something, I've been doing a lot of writing on my Substack and on X lately, is having it, check the grammar for me, making sure that the ideas are strong, that I'm not creating any logical fallacies, and just helping me become a better writer. And so I think that's another way of using it. Again, this is kind of like that thought partner, where it's helping me out, where normally you could ask a friend, or we have editors at Classical Conversations that we might pay to edit something that I write. And so this is a way of kind of speeding that along and helping me to develop my writing more effectively as well. Another way that I've been using it is just kind of around the house. I have a power washer, and it popped a hose. So I took a picture of the power washer, picture of the hose, asked Grok where I could find a replacement, and it took me straight to a website that I could buy the replacement on, and get it in a couple of days, and then go about power washing my house again. So those are some ways that I've been using personally. I've noticed that it's really easy to start believing AI is that this large language learning model, right? It's not a person; it's just a computer program that's basically aggregating data and averaging it out based on the prompts that you're giving it. Sometimes I end up start believing it too much, or I ask it like, "Hey, I need a quote that's kind of like this quote," or give me some things, and it just makes it up. They call it hallucinating. I think we call it lying, in the Bible. But they call it hallucinating, and of course, they've created all these terms around AI that makes it sound more human. We saw the debacle of the humanoid robot being released by the White House, where they talked about how this robot would be watching our kids and educating them in the future, with it, which is dystopian and very scary idea, but one that we've talked about before, at least inside my own family with my mom, and we'll be having a conversation with her later this week. But I have noticed, like as I've been using it, that I can start using it too much, and then actually my brain almost starts to feel like it's getting mushy, like it's not working as well because I've started like, oh, I just let me do this and that and that and that, and then next thing I know, I've just been there prompting this AI instead of doing the actual hard work of wrestling, and I don't know if the output is actually accurate and things of that nature. So a lot of as an adult and as someone trying to explore this and understand it so I can talk to you about it, is a lot of failing fast. One of the ways that I used it, I talked about this in my Substack as well, was just as a health coach. So I've been doing some competitions to get healthier, and I've been using that instead of a personal trainer to just help hold me accountable and put in my food for the day and my workouts and things like that, and get advice back. That works out well for me because I do have some baseline knowledge of that information to begin with, and have read and worked out and tried to eat healthy sometimes in my life. And so I can kind of spot when it's giving me some bad advice or things that, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do this instead. But yeah, so that's been one way that I've been using it. And then another way that I've been using it as well is for my finances, my personal finances. Now, the key to remember is if you're not paying for a service, you are a service. So I do pay for these services. And that is, I've just, been uploading my bank statements at the end of each month, and my credit card statements and things of that nature, and asking like, where can I trim some money? Where am I spending too much money? Like, and trying to get some insights just from, my financial picture as well. So those are all things that I've been doing personally over the last year, and really a lot more over the last 6 to 7 months, on trying to really understand the capabilities of AI. What's it good for? What is it not good for? And the reality is, every 2-3 months, they are all creating new versions, new standards, and things like that. And so what may be useful in one edition of the software doesn't work in the next, believe it or not, or something that didn't work before is now ahead and doing excellent work somewhere else. So it's definitely a time to be exploring and to be informing ourselves as adults on its use. I really look at it kind of like Excel spreadsheets and accounting. Like, imagine like 30 years ago, before Microsoft, right? Your accountant would not have used a computer, very few did, and that would not have been an expectation for you. But now you wouldn't go to an accountant who doesn't know how to use Excel spreadsheets and all these different softwares. But you still need that accountant there with wisdom, giving you advice, having that conversation. So I view AI in the best sense of it, as its best and highest use is, this kind of tool where, you're not going to, be replaced by the tool itself, but a person who knows how to use that tool better than you or more effectively than you has a possibility of, outpacing you. And so it's just another tool in the best sense of the word, an idea that we should be embracing for ourselves as adults to learn well. Yeah, so that's how I've been using it personally as an adult. For education, though, right, this is a totally different realm. Kids don't have wisdom, right? That's the whole point of educating them for 12 years is to get knowledge, right? To get understanding, to get wisdom, as we are told in Proverbs. And that requires wrestling. That requires work. That requires effort. And as adults, when you're trying to streamline, a process or get something done faster, after you have wisdom or knowledge, it's okay to do that. But there's just some things in life that you just can't take a shortcut on. And a lot of that is your brain development. And that's why we see AI can be a great tool as an adult, but it can be a very dangerous tool as a kid. And so let's think about this. Like, you have 18 years basically under your house, at least in, America's kind of standard family arrangement, to really raise your kid into adult, to give him those life experiences, to challenge him or her so that they become productive citizens, so that they become value add to their community, so that they get married and do the work the Lord is requiring of them, and so that they can be a blessing to their church and local body. And so that requires effort, that requires hard work, that requires sacrifice. Like, memorization is an important thing for our brains to wire it well so that we can retain information when we're older, so that we don't develop Alzheimer's too early, so that we can, remember our past and remember the good times that we had with friends. So there's all of these benefits from memorizing. And we saw how the world wanted to shortcut all that by introducing calculators. Now, calculators, of course, are a wonderful tool. But if you don't know 5 plus 5 equals 10, and you hit 5 plus 4 equals 9, and you write down 9 because you don't have any sort of basic understanding, you're just going to trust the results of that calculator, well, you're going to get the answer wrong. And if you're building a bridge or a road or something, then that could have dire consequences for the people around you. Or if you're trying to set up a family budget one day and you don't have a good comprehension of understanding of numbers, that you're going to be in a bad position to be able to manage your family's finances, to understand mortgage rates and credit card rates and all of these different things. And so memorization is such an important thing. And again, it's not something that you can shortcut. And adults who have learned to memorize are way better off than their counterparts who never gained that skill at all. And so think about life. Like, life is a journey. And, when you accomplish something hard, think about that reward that you experience at that time. You can't shortcut reward. You can't shortcut that dopamine hit by speeding that up with AI, because you haven't internalized it. And when you use AI, especially as a kid, right, you're not really becoming anything. You are understanding how to prompt something or how to cheat, but you're not actually transforming yourself from a child into adult. You're not actually making yourself stronger and more ready to experience life and whatever God has for you. So AI, especially at the younger ages, kids should not be exposed to that. There was this idea early on, right, and still in technology with computers. Oh, we need to get computers in everybody's hands so that they know how to use them, right, for when they get older. Well, that didn't work out so well, did it? Right? We have only 34% of kids can read at grade level. Their attention span is less than a goldfish. Of course, learning how to use a computer, 30 years ago when it was first coming out, that may have been an important skill back then if you were an adult, but it has ruined our education here in the United States over the last 30 years. And AI is just going to accelerate that, so much faster. Another thing with AI is it gives you, again, they call them hallucinations. It gives you inaccurate information. And so think about this, like we are training our students to believe a computer output that's been programmed. Now, we use that calculator example of you accidentally hit 5 plus 4 instead of 5 plus 5. Well, what if the powers that be want 5 plus 5 to equal 9, right? This is what George Orwell warned us about in 1984, that we would become bystanders, just forced to take whatever information was provided to us because we wouldn't have that cognitive ability to think for ourselves or reason. And we would just be at the whims of whoever was in power. Whoever we're at war with, oh, that's great. Oh, now we're at peace with them and we're at war with this person. That's great. So let's break this down a little bit deeper. Like how the brain is developed. When your child is born, like the brain is a powerful tool. That's why they can learn language, learn how to walk, like learn their extremities. And they do it at such a rapid rate, right? And that's because the brain is starting to develop kind of its operating system for the rest of life. And so the importance of memorization is so that it has information in that operating system so it can reflect on information that is provided to it for the next 100 years or 80 years, so that it doesn't have to go into these two kind of camps, because we have like two levels of thinking. One is like a very surface level thinking and one is a deep level of thinking. And so for us as humans, like if we are always having to fact check and go look up 5 resources, that's going to be exhausting, and it's not something that we have the capacity to do from a time standpoint. And so we have to be these bystanders who just don't understand what's going on, that just have to accept whatever is being fed to them, because doing the opposite is just too exhausting. And so we got to understand that there's a point to brain development that is going to be a blessing to the individual for the rest of our lives. And so we have 18 years to do that. And so we have to be very intentional with what we feed the brain so that it's as strong as possible, so that it has as many neurological components as healthy as possible, so that as the world throws all these different ideas at it, that it can process those and pick human flourishing as options versus what we've seen around us just from the advent of the internet and TV and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, where just so many people are bystanders in their entire lives. And we don't want that for our own kids. So I'll be talking with my mom, Leigh, more about this in this week's episode on AI with her, on education. But I think just a couple, again, principles to remember. The people developing this type of technology does not let their kids touch it. That should tell you all you need to know as a parent. How AI is actually used, right? You need to be able to think clearly, think logically, ask good questions. You have to be able to write good prompts, which means you have to have a good amount of knowledge already innate that you know. And so the way to be good at AI in the future, to be AI prepared for your jobs, when the student becomes 20, 22, 24, 26 years old, is not to embrace AI today, but it is to embrace the things that we've been embracing in classical conversations for almost 30 years now. Thinking logically, asking good questions, Socratic circles, like all of these things that we're doing have, unintentionally equipped you and our students to be leaders in this new AI world that we're living in. So this is kind of how we're wrestling and thinking about AI, wrestle with it personally, and then think about those ideas that transcend generations, that are true today, yesterday, and tomorrow, right? We're seeking after truth here at Classical Conversations with a capital T. His name is Jesus. And that's what we're trying to ultimately do, is hear that well done, good and faithful servant. So how does AI add to that? How can it improve our chances of hearing that, or stop us from stumbling? And then what are ways that can cause us to stumble? And are we going to approach it unknowingly? And I think that's the problem with the internet. When it came out and these new technologies, we didn't know what it was going to be able to do. And we thought we were giving our kids a tool when we were. It just happened to be a chainsaw, and it damaged so many kids. Versus now we've learned from that wisdom, from that experience, and gained wisdom. And so as we approach AI, we should not make the same mistakes we've been making for the last 20 or 30 years with these other technology platforms. Right? We have to reject what the world is going to tell us, because the world's ways is not God's ways. And we need to do things God's way. And we know that he delights in his children, and that he wants what's best for us, and that he made us a certain way. And we don't need to try to contradict that. Instead, we need to work with how the brain is developed, understanding that the classical methodology works. It works in the AI world just as much as it did before then. And that if we are to get leaders in the future who can think well, articulate their points, yes, AI could be a tool for them to do that later on in life, but they're never going to become a leader if they don't have that foundational knowledge to begin with. And so that's what we need to do as parents. That's the blessing we need to give our children. It's not easy. It's hard work. But in the end, what is worth doing is hard. Hard work is worth doing in and of itself, and the results are much more satisfactory. And I do believe that part of the reasons why we have this almost selfish society now is so much of it's been about me, and self-satisfaction. Well, self-satisfaction, that's a fire that's always going to be consuming. The more you feed it, the more it needs to be satisfied. And so we have to reject that ideology for a better idea. And so that's what we'll be talking about this week. How do we think about AI here at Classical Conversations? How can AI be useful? How can we prepare our students for an AI future? And what are some legislative things going on that we need to be aware of that may be affecting us in the future? What we do know is AI is here, right? If I go Google something now, it gives me an AI response first before pulling in other links. So we are using AI all the time, whether we know it or not. Let's not be ignorant about it. As we like to say on this show, don't be woke, be wise. So I'm excited to present to you AI Week here on the Refining Rhetoric podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend. Please comment on YouTube. And as always, God bless, and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Refining Rhetoric with Robert Bortins. Want more? Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss an episode. You can also follow us on social media to continue the conversation, and visit classicalconversations.com/rhetoric to find out how you can join a local homeschool community.